You will be going to Italy soon. You will see where you can visit, what you can do, and what you can eat. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to your Essential Italy Travel Guide. From the ancient ruins of Rome to the romantic canals of Venice, Italy offers a treasure trove of experiences. Discover iconic landmarks, indulge in delicious cuisine, and explore charming villages off the beaten path. Let this guide be your passport to La Dolce Vita. Welcome to Italy.
St. Peter's Basilica.
The Papal Basilica of St. Peter in the Venice, or simply St. Peter's Basilica, is a church of the Italian High Renaissance located in Vatican City, an independent microstate enclaved within the city of Rome, Italy. It was initially planned in the 15th century by Pope Nicholas V and then Pope Julius II to replace the aging Old St. Peter's Basilica, which was built in the 4th century by Roman Emperor Constantine the Great. Construction of the present basilica began on 18th April 1506 and was completed on 18th November 1626. The entire interior of St. Peter's is lavishly decorated with marble, reliefs, architectural sculpture, and gilding. The basilica contains a large number of tombs of popes and other notable people, many of which are considered outstanding artworks. There are also a number of sculptures in niches and chapels, including Michelangelo's Pietà. The central feature is a baldachin, or canopy over the papal altar, designed by Gian Lorenzo Bernini. The apse culminates in a sculptural ensemble, also by Bernini, and containing the symbolic chair of St. Peter. The nave, which leads to the central dome, is in 3 bays, with piers supporting a barrel vault, the highest of any church. The nave is framed by wide aisles which have a number of chapels off them. There are also chapels surrounding the dome. Moving around the basilica in a clockwise direction they are the baptistery, the chapel of the Presentation of the Virgin, the larger choir chapel, the altar of the Transfiguration, the Clementine Chapel with the altar of St. Gregory, the sacristy entrance, the altar of the Lie, the left transept with altars to the crucifixion of St. Peter, St. Joseph, and St. Thomas, the altar of the Sacred Heart, the chapel of the Madonna of Column, the altar of St. Peter and the Paralytic, the apse with the chair of St. Peter, the altar of St. Peter raising Tabitha, the altar of St. Petronilla, the altar of the Archangel Michael, the altar of the Navicella, the right transept with altars of St. Erasmus, Saints Processo and Martiniano, and St. Wenceslas, the altar of St. Jerome, the altar of St. Basil, the Gregorian Chapel with the altar of the Madonna of Succour, the larger Chapel of the Holy Sacrament, the Chapel of St. Sebastian, and the Chapel of the Pietà. The monuments, in a clockwise direction, are to Maria Clementina Sobieski, the Stuarts, Benedict XV, John XXIII, St. Pius VI, Innocent VIII, Leo XV, Innocent XV, Pius VII, Pius V, Alexander VII, Alexander V, Paul III, Urban V, Clement VIII, etc. At the heart of the basilica, beneath the high altar, is the Confessio, or Chapel of the Confession, in reference to the Confession of Faith by St. Peter, which led to his martyrdom. 2 curving marble staircases lead to this underground chapel at the level of the Constantinian Church and immediately above the purported burial place of St. Peter.
Colosseum.
The Colosseum is an elliptical amphitheater in the center of the city of Rome, Italy, just east of the Roman Forum. It is the largest ancient amphitheater ever built and is still the largest standing amphitheater in the world, despite its age. Construction began under the Emperor Vespasian and was completed in AD 80 under his successor and heir, Titus. Further modifications were made during the reign of Domitian. The 3 emperors who were patrons of the work are known as the Flavian dynasty, and the amphitheater was named the Flavian Amphitheater by later classicists and archaeologists for its association with their family name Flavius. The Colosseum is built of travertine limestone, tuff, and brick-faced concrete. It could hold an estimated 50,000 to 80,000 spectators at various points in its history, having an average audience of some 65,000 It was used for gladiatorial contests and public spectacles, including animal hunts, executions, reenactments of famous battles, and dramas based on Roman mythology, and briefly, mock sea battles. The building ceased to be used for entertainment in the early medieval era. It was later reused for such purposes as housing, workshops, quarters for a religious order, a fortress, a quarry, and a Christian shrine. The name Colosseum is believed to be derived from a colossal statue of Nero on the model of the Colossus of Rhodes. The giant bronze sculpture of Nero as a solar deity was moved to its position beside the amphitheater by the Emperor Hadrian. The word Colosseum is a neuter Latin noun formed from the adjective colossseus, meaning gigantic or Colossian. By the year 1000, the Latin name Colosseum had been coined to refer to the amphitheater from the nearby Colossus Solis. The site chosen was a flat area on the floor of a low valley between the Caelian, Esquiline, and Palatine hills, through which a canalized stream ran as well as an artificial lake marsh. By the 2nd century BC, the area was densely inhabited. It was devastated by the Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD, following which Nero seized much of the area to add to his personal domain. He built the grandiose Domus Aurea on the site, in front of which he created an artificial lake surrounded by pavilions, gardens, and porticos. The existing Aqua Claudia aqueduct was extended to supply water to the area, and the gigantic bronze colossus of Nero was set up nearby at the entrance to the Domus Aurea.
Pisa Tower.
The Leaning Tower of Pisa, or simply the Tower of Pisa, is the Campanile, or freestanding bell tower of Pisa Cathedral. It is known for its nearly 4-degree lean, the result of an unstable foundation. The tower is one of 3 structures in the Pisa's Cathedral Square, which includes the cathedral and Pisa Baptistry. The identity of the architect of the tower is a subject of controversy. The design had long been attributed to a man named Guglielmo and to Bonanno Pisano, the latter a well-known 12th century resident artist of Pisa known for his bronze casting, particularly in the Pisa Duomo. Pisano left Pisa in 1185 for Monreale, Sicily, only to return and die in his hometown. A piece of cast bearing his name was discovered at the foot of the tower in 1820, but this may be related to the bronze door in the facade of the cathedral that was destroyed in 1595. A 2001 study seems to indicate Diotisalvi was the original architect, due to the time of construction and affinity with other Diotisalvi works, notably the bell tower of San Niccolò and the Baptistery, both in Pisa. Between 1589 and 1592, Galileo Galilei, who lived in Pisa at the time, is said to have dropped 2 cannonballs of different masses from the tower to demonstrate that their speed of descent was independent of their mass, in keeping with the law of free fall. The primary source for this is the biography, historical account of the life of Galileo Galilei, written by Galileo's pupil and secretary Vincenzo Viviani in 1654, but only published in 1717, long after his death. During World War II, the Allies suspected that the Germans were using the tower as an observation post. Leon Weckstein, a U.S. Army sergeant sent to confirm the presence of German troops in the tower, was impressed by the beauty of the cathedral and its campanile, and thus refrained from ordering an artillery strike, sparing it from destruction.
Italy's amazing local dishes.
Risotto.
Risotto is an Italian rice dish cooked with broth until it reaches a creamy consistency. The broth can be derived from meat, fish, or vegetables. Many types of risotto contain butter, onion, white wine, and Parmesan cheese. It is one of the most common ways of cooking rice in Italy. Saffron was originally used for flavour, and its signature yellow colour. Rice has been grown in southern Italy for centuries. From the south, rice gradually made its way north toward northern Italy, where the marshes of the Po Valley were suitable for rice cultivation. According to a legend, a young glassblower's apprentice of the Veneranda Fabbrica del Duomo di Milano from Flanders, who used to use saffron as a pigment, added it to a rice dish at a wedding feast. Risotto is believed to have originated around Lombardy. The first recipe identifiable as risotto dates from 1809. It includes rice sautéed in butter, sausages, bone marrow, and onions with broth with saffron gradually added. There is a recipe for a dish named as a risotto in the 1854 Trattato di Cucina, Treatise on Cooking, by Giovanni Vialardi, assistant chief chef to kings. However, the question of who invented the risotto in Milan remains unanswered today.
Pizza.
Pizza is an Italian dish consisting of a flat base of leavened wheat-based dough topped with tomato, cheese, and other ingredients, baked at a high temperature, traditionally in a wood-fired oven. The term pizza was first recorded in the year 997 AD in a Latin manuscript from the southern Italian town of Gaeta, in Lazio, on the border with Campania. Raffaele Esposito is often credited for creating modern pizza in Naples. In 2009, Neapolitan pizza was registered with the European Union as a traditional specialty guaranteed dish. In 2017, the art of making Neapolitan pizza was added to UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage.
Lasagna.
Lasagna, also known as lasagna, is a type of pasta, possibly one of the oldest types, made of very wide, flat sheets. Either term can refer to an Italian dish made of stacked layers of lasagna, alternating with fillings such as ground meats and tomato sauce, bechamel sauce, vegetables, cheeses, which may include ricotta, mozzarella, and parmesan, and seasonings and spices. The dish may be topped with grated cheese, which becomes melted during baking. Typically, cooked pasta is assembled with the other ingredients and then baked in an oven. The resulting baked pasta is cut into single-serving square or rectangular portions. Lasagna originated in Italy during the Middle Ages. The oldest transcribed text about lasagna appears in 1282 in the Memoriali Bolognesi, in which lasagna was mentioned in a poem transcribed by a Bolognese notary, while the first recorded recipe was set down in the early 14th century Liber de Coquina, the Book of Cookery. It bore only a slight resemblance to the later traditional form of lasagna, featuring a fermented dough flattened into thin sheets, boiled, sprinkled with cheese and spices, and then eaten with a small pointed stick. Recipes written in the century following the Liber de Coquina recommended boiling the pasta in chicken broth and dressing it with cheese and chicken fat. In a recipe adapted for the Lenten fast, walnuts were recommended.
Bruschetta.
Bruschetta is an Italian antipasto, starter dish, consisting of grilled bread often topped with olive oil and salt. Most commonly, it is served with toppings of tomato, vegetables, beans, cured meat, and/or cheese. In Italy, bruschetta is often prepared using a brustolina grill. Waverley Root and Marcella Hazan trace the origins of bruschetta to ancient Rome. According to Root, ancient Romans called bruschetta clustrum or crustulum. An inscription found in the Sabine city of Cures documents that clustrum was distributed to people together with mulsum on important holidays like Saturnalia. 103 Hazan states that bruschetta's origins are probably nearly as old as that of olive oil itself. In ancient Rome, the first taste of olive oil was likely an oil-soaked piece of bread that may or may not have been rubbed with garlic. In modern times, bruschetta was a staple of the trattoria that made up for the frugality of the fare. Over time, the dish gained popularity and made its way into the cuisines of higher social classes. The International Culinary Centre dates bruschetta to the Middle Ages, when toppings were served on bread instead of plates.
Pasta.
Pasta is a type of food typically made from an unleavened dough of wheat flour mixed with water or eggs, and formed into sheets or other shapes, then cooked by boiling or baking. Evidence of Etruscans making pasta dates back to 400 BCE. The first concrete information on pasta products in Italy dates to the 13th or 14th centuries. In the 1st century AD writings of Horace, lagana were fine sheets of fried dough and were an everyday foodstuff. Writing in the 2nd century, Athenaeus of Naucratis provides a recipe for lagana, which he attributes to the 1st century Chrysippus of Tyana. sheets of dough made of wheat flour and the juice of crushed lettuce, then flavored with spices and deep fried in oil. An early 5th century cookbook describes a dish called lagana that consisted of layers of dough with meat stuffing, an ancestor of modern-day lasagna. However, the method of cooking these sheets of dough does not correspond to the modern definition of either a fresh or dry pasta product, which only had similar basic ingredients and perhaps the shape.
Tiramisu.
Tiramisu is an Italian dessert made of ladyfinger pastries dipped in coffee, layered with a whipped mixture of eggs, sugar and mascarpone, and flavoured with cocoa. The recipe has been adapted into many varieties of cakes and other desserts. Its origin is disputed between the Italian regions of Veneto and Friuli Venezia Giulia. The name comes from the Italian tiramisu. The tiramisu recipe is not found in cookbooks before the 1960s. It is mentioned in a Sydney Morning Herald restaurant column published in 1978. It is not mentioned in encyclopedias and dictionaries of the 1970s, first appearing in an Italian dictionary in 1980 and in English in 1982. It is mentioned in a 1983 cookbook devoted to cooking of the Veneto.
Thanks for watching. In this video, we talked about Italy and its beauties and gave information about where we can visit and what we can eat. Since it was my project assignment, I tried to pay great attention to it. I hope you like it. It took me about 2.5 weeks.